What if I could tell you that having no resources was an actual strategy on getting your first real estate deal, and how I was able to generate $6,000 in 3 days practically out of thin air? My name is Jamil Damji, your favorite wholesaler, and today we're going to talk about the power of broke. I'm going to share with you how I used an entry-level real estate investing technique called wholesaling. Maybe you think you need money to start investing in real estate, and you've created a story in your mind that once you save up $10,000, you'll finally be able to begin your journey as a real estate investor. Well, guys, I'm going to tell you that all of that is absolute bullshit. And I promise that after watching this video, there is not a chance that you're going to want to procrastinate for another minute. Let's get started. So I want to rewind you guys back to 2014. I was a brand new real estate investor here in the market of Phoenix, Arizona, and I was pretty broke. I had just started as a wholesaler here in Phoenix, and Phoenix is one of the most competitive markets, and it's really tough to kind of get your footing. I didn't have any training. I didn't have a mentor. I didn't have lead lists. I was literally working with nothing. When I say I was broke, I call it mattress on the floor poor. Have you ever been mattress on the floor poor? That's where you're so poor you don't even have a bed frame to put your mattress on. That's where I was. I was just gotten married to the love of my life, Natalie. She ended up catching a superbug. Now, for those of you that don't know what a superbug is an antibiotic resistant bacterial infection that can kill you. Why? Because it can't be treated by normal antibiotics. It's become resistant to those antibiotics. In order to get your hands on the type of medicine that is required to defeat these superbugs, you got to pay a lot of money. We catch, or she catches, this superbug. I say we because I'm her husband and I'm going through it with her. And I'm literally watching my wife die. And I don't say that lightly. I'm literally watching her die. And now I've got to get my hands on this $6,000 prescription. Now, I had basically two options to get my hands on that money. I was going to A, rob the pharmacy and get the prescription, or I was going to B, figure out how to make $6,000. I'm not making this video to you from a federal penitentiary, so you can actually guess that I chose B. I didn't rob the pharmacy. I figured out how I was going to make $6,000 and how I was going to get it in my hands in days. And this is where I leveraged the power of broke. You see, I didn't have any money to go and buy an expensive list. I didn't have any money to skip trace that list for the phone numbers. I literally had to find a deal that was available, and I had to find a buyer that wanted to buy it. Now, again, wholesaling is simply finding ugly houses, getting those houses under contract, and then selling that contract to a buyer for a fee. I knew the concept and I understood that I could make money doing this. I had made money in the past. I just hadn't really done well at keeping it. When you're a wholesaler and you're just getting started, you might make $10,000 here and there, but that money dries up really quick, especially if you haven't paid your bills in a couple of months and bills are piling up. And so we're in this situation. So what I ended up doing was sitting at my kitchen table on a Sunday afternoon, totally desperate. I didn't have an office to work out of. My wife was in the bedroom, literally on the floor, shaking in the bed, sick as a dog. And I just knew that I had to figure something out. So I start scouring the MLS. Now I'm looking at houses that needed work, right? So I start searching terms. I start looking for fixer-upper. I start looking for investor. I start looking for cash buyers. And I use all these search terms and I end up finding a handful of houses that I looked at and comped. Now, what I ended up doing was I reached out to every single one of those potential investor deals and I made an offer where I knew the property needed to be at. Now, all of these were overpriced, had been sitting on the market for quite some time, and we're talking 2014. So the market wasn't necessarily hot. It wasn't necessarily cold. It was just flat. So sellers were used to negotiating and agents were used to negotiating on behalf of their sellers, and people were very open to offers, just like the market we're in today. So that's what I did. I went and looked up potential investing opportunities, cash buyer opportunities, potential fix and flips, made my offers on a number of properties. Now, of course, you're going to make these offers and they're going to be lower than what the seller wants, and they're going to be lower than what the agent wants you to write. However, if a seller is motivated and if there is an opportunity to sell the deal, they will work with you. Not all of them, but you just need one. And that's exactly what happened. I ended up getting one of the houses that I had made an offer on under contract, and it was significantly below list price. So there was a perception of great value there. I can't remember the exact numbers of how much I put the house under contract for, but I do remember that it was significantly below MLS. And why is that important? Well, as a wholesaler, guys, especially if you're looking at on-market listed opportunities, you are now competing against the fix and flipper on something they could have done themselves. They're going to look at any deal that's on the MLS as an opportunity that they could have chased. And that's true. So what value proposition are you bringing to the table by bringing them an on-market deal? Well, the negotiation is where you're going to have your value. Are you able to negotiate the contract on that house at such a low price that it entices a buyer to see your value in doing that deal? And that's exactly what I did. So I was so below MLS list price. I knew I had a great deal, but I didn't have a buyer at the time. And so I did what you should do if you don't have a buyer and you have a contract. I started looking for cash buyers. Finding cash buyers, guys, is not as hard as you might think it is. Yes, there's lots of softwares out there that can help streamline the process for you. I actually use a lot of those softwares, but at the time I wasn't. I was literally just doing it with no resources, broke, the power of broke, right? So I started going into Facebook groups and I started looking up cash buyer in Phoenix, Arizona. And I also go to Google and I start typing in cash buyer for homes in Phoenix, Arizona. And all of these people I found were paying good money for ad placements to be a cash buyer in Phoenix. Now, why is this important? Well, if you're paying upwards of $100 or $200 for somebody to call you off a Google lead to sell you a house, that means that you're a pretty aggressive cash buyer. It means you've got a marketing budget. It means that you're happy to spend money. And maybe you'll take a look at my deal and that deal might make sense to you. And that's exactly what happened. I can't remember where I found Chris Simon, but Chris Simon was the individual who I ended up getting in touch with. It was very likely from a Facebook group. But what I remember doing was calling through and making a post, letting people know that I had a great property under contract at a significant discount from MLS list price, and there was a massive spread to be had. And I just asked for people to comment in the comment section what email address they wanted me to send the deal to. And people started responding. It was crazy. There are so many people in these free Facebook groups, and I could happily give you names of a few of them. You guys could go check out Wholesaling Houses Elite. You could also check out the Bigger Pockets forum for a great place to network with cash buyers and people that potentially would want your deal. And there's a number of others. I have a free Facebook group called Astro Flipping. There's a great one that Pace Morby has called Creative Finance by Pace Morby. Now, this isn't to get you to join any one of our Facebook groups. It's to get you to join all of the Facebook groups because there are legitimate buyers in every single one of them. You just have to have a deal that they want. And that's what I did. I had a deal that they wanted. Now, I ended up getting reached out to by a gentleman, as I've already mentioned, by the name of Chris Simon, and he owns a disposition wholesaler company in Phoenix, Arizona called Sell Wholesale Houses. Now, there was something really interesting about Chris. Not only was he active in the Facebook groups and responding to posts very quickly, he was also paying money on Google AdWords. And so I knew that this person must have been the real deal. If you're willing to pay a couple $100s for a Google click, if you're willing to respond to people in Facebook groups at a rapid pace, that means you're serious about your business and you really are looking for opportunities. And so I constructed what's called a deal text. Now, guys, what a deal text is simply text message with all of the information that somebody would need in order to make a decision on whether or not they like a property. It listed the address, it listed the bed bath count, the lot size, the square footage of the house, and my purchase price. So what I was asking for the property. It also listed what I thought the ARV was, and believe it or not, I'm very aggressive when it comes to determining what my ARV is. I don't like to embellish. I don't like to make up or fake value. Your buyers will absolutely hate you if you're not honest about how much a property is worth. So guys, check out a video that I've made in the past on how to comp properties. If you are unsure of how to comp properties, it's another video that I've done for Bigger Pockets you can find on the main channel. But also understand that packaging up and curating these opportunities for your cash buyers is really where another position or another portion of your value is generated. Making sure that you deliver information to them so they don't have to ask you for things, right? So again, the address of the property, the bed bath count, the square footage, the lot size, the purchase price, the ARV, and a link to pictures. Everything was in one text message. And I was able to copy and paste that text message and send it to hundreds of people that day. Now, Chris looked at the property and he liked it. So he said he'll take it. It was that fast, guys. I put a property under contract on a Sunday morning. I then went to a Facebook group and I started connecting with cash buyers. And by Sunday afternoon, I had somebody willing to take my house. Now, I had marked up the property $10,000 sending the deal to Chris, but I needed $6,000 and I needed it before the property was actually closed. Now, my closing date wasn't until the end of the week, so it was Friday, but Natalie was in trouble and she needed me to get her a prescription and it needed to happen immediately. It was Sunday afternoon and I was desperate. So I called Chris, my buyer, and I said, look, I've got a $10,000 assignment fee on this contract, but I'm in a little bit of trouble. I really do need to have the cash from this deal in my hand by Wednesday. And if you would be willing to give me the $6,000 that I need, I would be willing to discount my assignment fee on this property by $4,000, meaning you can get this deal for me for a discount by paying me before closing. Obviously, this is going to be a risk for a wholesaler to do. And so I'm not saying that everybody's going to do this for you. They may not. I can tell you that I've done this a lot of times for newer wholesalers that are just getting started that need to get their hands on some money for whatever emergency reason they've got. So I was leveraging my situation, and I knew that being able to add that value for Chris would have been good for him, right? He's a cash buyer. He's got money, but $6,000 for him now is way better than $10,000 3 days later. So he said yes. And we met, and I signed over an assignment for the deal, and he just checked with the title company to make sure that the property was actually under contract and that I had contractual rights to it. So everything lined up for him. He lined up on the closing date and knew that there was an agent involved and that it was a deal that I'd found on the MLS, and everything lined up for him. So he deposited his earnest deposit and then met me with a check for $6,000. Now, guys, this was an incredible win for me because I was able to go to the pharmacy and buy that prescription, bring it home to my wife, and save her life. This is what I'm talking about when I use the power of broke. I didn't have a story in my mind that it takes money to make money. I didn't have this faraway date in my head where all of the world would align in a perfect symphony of opportunity where I would finally take action and start fulfilling my dreams as a real estate investor. None of that happened. I was in a bad spot. I had no money. I had no leads. I had no resources. All I had was my sweat equity, and all I had was a knowledge on how to comp properties. I took that knowledge, I found an opportunity, I got my hands on that opportunity, and then I sold it, and I made $6,000. Guys, if you were in a situation right now in your life where you could use $5,000, $6,000, $10,000, and you could use it by Wednesday, just like me, well, think about it. You can actually make this happen yourself. You can go find an ugly house, comp it, get it under contract for a lot lower than what it's listed for, or that's a great deal, and then sell that contract to me. I'd love to be your buyer. And that's what Keegley franchises do all across the nation. So whether or not you're doing deals in Phoenix, Arizona, or you want to do a deal in another major market, there's very likely a Keegley dispo wholesaler there to service you and help you get a buyer for your deal. It was really fun talking to you, Bigger Pockets. If you like this content, do me a favor and like this video and also subscribe to the channel On The Market. We have a podcast that we put out all the time that is just full of great information and an incredible cast of panelists to help you along on your real estate investing journey. Till the next time, I'm Jamil Damji, and we'll see you later.